telling you hit the bell again.
Okay, so forget any of this happening.
We'll pretend this is like the first
I'll
time.
come up with another funny joke. Like it was-
And you see the little red light at me.
Oh, thank you. This is heading towards the blooper real quickly. All right, Terry, am I?
Yeah,
Okay.
the red light's on.
Welcome to Jonesboro Rotary. That's how we started off here. We're excited to have you. I'd like to call on Charles Odom for our program, please.
Let us join in the Rotary invocation. Open our eyes that we may see, open our ears that we may hear, touch our hearts that we may love, clear our minds that we may think, strengthen our hands that we may work. Amen.
Okay, thanks, Mike. At this time, I'd like to introduce our program, Matt Matthews, and we really do appreciate Matt taking this opportunity and really taking the challenge. Because if you'll remember, a few months ago when I came into this Rotary year as president, one of the challenges we issued to the group was that we'd love to see everybody participate, be involved in the recruitment of a program or even doing a program. So Matt decided to do just that. So we're thankful to have Matt today, and he's going to be talking about factfulness. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to our very own Matt Matthews.
Woo-hoo! Hope you guys have got all 3 pages of the questionnaire done. One of them's on the back. I have it. Pages, 2 sheets, 3 pages. This book started out with my father-in-law, who gave it to my daughter, who loaned it to me. So it's been through there. It's by Hans Rosling, who was a doctor. He worked with all sorts of autoimmune deficiencies and Ebola outbreaks and all the rest of that, all over the world. He was a Swede. He's died recently. He was the advisor to UNICEF World Health. And as he did that, occasionally he would give lectures to people, and he would ask them questions. Now, most of the people he was talking to were probably medical people. Certainly, they're all over the world, and I'm going to show you the answers, and then I'm going to show you how those answers were answered by these people that he talked to in many countries. And then I'll explain a little bit more about it, maybe if I get a chance. So, this isn't one of your questions, but this is a question I'd like you to answer. Overall, is the world getting better, about the same, or worse? How many think it's getting better? Pretty good. How many people think it's about the same?
I mean, define, you say, the world.
Wait a minute, what are we voting on here?
You mean the environment, or you mean the quality of life, or what do you mean?
For human beings.
For human, okay, quality of life.
And how many think it's worse? It's.
You did the.
You're not gonna work. All right. So, getting better is the blank space over on the right. Yeah. These are the answers that have been given, right? U.S. is in red. U.S., everybody says 50% or better, the world's getting worse. Actually, the majority here thought it was getting better. That's good. As you will maybe draw from the rest of the questions. Turkey thinks it's getting really worse, and maybe they've got a reason right now to think why it's getting worse. Belgium, well, that's a little surprise. South Korea, Poland. Russia was the most optimistic about it getting better.
Matt, tell us again, whose answers are these?
Well, these are the people in those countries where he gave lectures and asked these questions.
You said they were medical persons?
and others,
Okay.
politicians and newspaper people and, you know, all the rest of that jazz. Okay. So here, you have this on your sheet, I think. He divides the world into 3 income levels. He doesn't like the bit about them and us. The minute you start them and us, you really bias everything. So he tries to spread it out a little bit. And so here's life on the 4 income levels. Drinking water. We get involved in drinking water. Well, there's drinking water level 1, which is $2 a day, or $365 a year. And he's basically getting it out of a stream in a bucket and carrying it home. Next level up, which is $365 to $2,912, or $8 a day. He's gone to the same place, but now he gets it back on a bike. Next level is a faucet somewhere that you can go and get it. And level 4, where we live. Level 4 is in the house. Transportation, foot, bicycle, motorcycle, and car. Cooking, a pit, a 1-burner stove, 2-burner stove, and our house. You can see that there's quite a bit of change between these. And he's down below is the number of people that are in each one of these categories. So level 1, he's got 1 out of 7 people. Level 2 is 3, so most of the people are in 3. Most people are in 2. Level 3's got 2, and level 4's got 1. So most of the people are kind of in the middle again. And if we have them versus us, those people will be split apart. They're still split apart, but they. Okay, so here's the first question. In all low-income countries across the world, how many girls finish primary school? 20%. The answer is C. 60% of girls across the world, low-income countries, finish primary school. Where does the majority of the world population live? Well, I think we just covered that. B, the middle-income countries. The last 20 years, this is the first time that he said what time period. You know, I asked you if the world's getting better or not. Well, the question would be, over what time period? Are we talking about comparing the world today with cavemen? That's probably pretty straightforward. The Roman Empire, well, maybe that's not quite so straightforward. Talking about yesterday, well, it's probably about the same as yesterday. So, when he doesn't give a time, kind of think of, in your experience. My experience of where the world started was the Civil War, because I talked to 4 guys that fought the Civil War. And I know a lot about what the Civil War was like. And I'm glad that we have medicine that we had now that we didn't have then. In the last 20 years, the proportion of the world's population living in extreme poverty, those are the guys that are burning their food in a ditch. They're going to a ditch to get their water, carrying it home. Is that almost doubled, remained about the same, or almost halved? It's almost halved. I'd say that's progress. What's the life expectancy? 70 years, which I've exceeded, luckily. There are 2 billion children in the world today, aged 0 to 15. How many will there be in the year 2100, according to the UN? And you can see, here's what's going on. And we've got a problem here, not interpolation, but an extrapolation. How do we extrapolate that? Do we extrapolate that, take this slope and bring it out? Do we say, well, there's a little curve? Do we bring it down? Do we say that curve's going to flatten out? And there's certainly no reason for it to flatten out. But the answer is C. They believe it's going to flatten out. I thought the world was going to get more populated. The UN predicts by 2100 the world population will have another 4 billion people. What's the main reason? More children? More adults? More very old people. There are going to be more adults. I thought there'd be more children. I thought the birth rate was high, and that's what I seem to get from other people, from the news media, from all sorts of talking heads. The number of deaths per year from natural disasters changed over the last 100 years. They decreased to less than half. I don't get that feeling when I watch the news. I see all about volcanoes going off and tsunamis and all the hurricanes. Couldn't have cut in half, but it did. 7 billion people in the world today. Where do they live? Most of them live, or you might expect them to live, in Asia. Europe and the entire Americas is about the same, and the same as Africa. Apparently, Australia doesn't have enough people to worry about. Either that or it's part of Asia. How many of the world's 1-year-old children today have been vaccinated against some disease? And if anybody that's in Rotary missed that question, despite the fact that we hear in the news, we're not vaccinating people against mumps anymore because people are afraid of the vaccine that's been used for many years. There was some sort of a web article or something about that somebody propagated that was based on false information, and everybody's got up in arms about it for
Lincoln Down syndrome, is that what they were saying?
Downs and whatever.
But it wasn't a published article, it was just some type of research.
I think it was on the net, they said.
Yeah.
Worldwide, 30-year-old men have spent 10 years in school. On the average, how many years have women spent? 9? Almost as much as the men? That's surprising to me. It's nice. It should be 10. Might be 11. In 1996, tigers, giant pandas, and black rhinos were all endangered. How many of them are endangered now? What did the news tell us about this? They told us that they were endangered. Oh, we got to save them, and we got to do this, and we got to do that. And that's, from my point, a waste of energy, because I'm a geologist and I think about things in thousands of years. And really, we have extinctions forever. We shouldn't be helping it, but some of them are going to go away anyway. However, now, none of them. You hear that from anybody? That's not news, is it? It's news they're in trouble, but it's not news that they're no longer in trouble. Because the purpose of the news is to sell papers and to get people to watch the show. That's what they do. And therefore they select the news that they're going to show you. Because a lot of the good news isn't exciting. So it's never reported. How many people in the world have some access to electricity? Well, Shelter Box gives them some access to electricity, doesn't it, with their light bulb? 80%.
The key word there is some, because some only get it maybe 4 hours a day.
4 hours a day, right?
Okay.
Just like sometimes in New York. With the rolling blackouts.
Right.
Okay, so the education of girls, that was 60%. Now, of the answers in Spain, only 4% of the people thought that it was other than 60%. The US, 10% of the people. This is 0, that's 100. This is the monkeys. The monkeys at random beat the heck out of everybody. So we don't know, as a world, we don't know much about it. And really, Sweden at 11 and Spain at 4, there's not that much difference between those two. Okay. Majority of people are at what income level? Well, the US beat the monkeys, and so did South Korea. Australia came close. Germany, 17%. UK, 23%. If you didn't get some of these questions right, you're with the majority of the world, apparently. Extreme poverty has almost halved. Nobody beat the monkeys. Sweden and Norway did the best. 25 when they should have got exceeded 33 if they're going to beat the monkeys. Lifespan, 70 years. South Korea, again, thought that was true most of the time. It beat the monkeys. Germany beat the monkeys. We beat the monkeys. A lot of people beat the monkeys. Finland, Sweden, Hungary, Japan, Norway, they didn't beat the monkeys. Not surprising. Remember, I talked about extrapolating that. So, future number of children leveled off at 2 billion according to the United Nations, 2100. South Korea beat the monkeys. Japan beat the monkeys. The rest of us didn't even need to bother to try. Where is the world going to grow? More adults in age 15 to 73. The US just managed to get over the monkeys. Canada and Australia kind of tied them, Sweden. Japan thinks it's not going to be that, it's going to be something else. It's either going to be old people or it's going to be young people. It doesn't know, but it knows it's not going to be between 15 and 73. Knowing it and that being right is another problem. That's why it's called factfulness. He went through it as he went around the world giving talks and gathering some of this data. He was just amazed at how ignorant we are about the world. Natural disasters decreased to less than half. I wouldn't have thought that. Now, maybe global warming is going to change that. Maybe not. The truth is, we've had global warming and global cooling since we've had a planet. The sun has a variable output. We have variable position around it, and it can change sea level 600 feet. And it will change it 600 feet again, despite whatever we want it to do. Where do people live? Canada thought correctly, Australia, but you can see really we're about as good as the monkeys. Vaccination to children. Now, I hope we beat the heck out of everybody and the monkeys. But we're a biased group because we fund that and we talk about it. Women's education. Hungary, Korea, they felt 9 years, probably about right. US, not quite as good as the monkeys. Norway and Finland. We hold up these Scandinavian countries as being really, up with it and all the rest of that. But endangered animals. Nobody. Japan did the best on that, but not as good as the monkeys. Electricity, Norway almost came up to the monkeys, Sweden just a little bit behind, then us and the rest. So, how does this work? If we look at everybody, sort of, only 10% answered better than the chimps.
You're supposed to make us feel good about that, or?
One person out of how many thousands he interviewed got 11 of them right. He probably missed the one on vaccination. If he'd been in Rotary, then he'd have been over.
Matt,
Well-
when was this book written?
This book was written in 2018. So I figure, at least the copyright is 2018. So the information could be around 2015. It might be new, might be very new, because all of this information is pulled off of the websites, and therefore can be updated right away. And again, most of these questions are pretty broad stroke. Is it for education for women? Is it 9 years? Is it 6 years? Is it 12 years? Well, you know, there's a lot of slop in there. 4 people answered. There were 10% of the people got the same value as the chimps. So how does this happen? Well, let's look at the journalists and the filmmakers. We get a lot of information out of the journalists, and we get a lot of information out of these factual filmmakers that are making documentaries. Right? That's probably where I get most of my information about the world. So future children, levels off. Well, the US journalists did pretty good. They did almost as good as the monkeys. European journalists did a lot worse. Factual filmmakers, who might be talking and showing that, they did not very well. Vaccination coverage, which I suspect the Rotary members here got 100%. 80% of the world are vaccinated. Nobody got as good as the monkeys. European journalists were 6% correct. Women's education, 1 year less than the men. Nobody did as well as the chimps. And that's where we're getting our information. They don't know it. They know probably worse than we do. Okay, here's the average baby per woman. Average women per baby, right? From 1800 to today. And you can see US goes down, and we had a bubble around 1950, post-war bubble, and then it leveled off. But look at Iran. Now, I've heard that the Muslims are going to outbreed us, and this is a big danger to some groups of people. But Iran, 1950 is probably true. They certainly had more babies than we did, but by now they have less per family. How is that possible? Here's how it's possible. With higher income, you have fewer babies. When you're sitting at the poverty level, you got to have 5, 6 babies, because 2 of them are going to die before they're a year old. One of the others is going to have trouble later on. You need the workforce because it's all manual labor. The more manual labor, the more plants you can take care of. And so as money increases, the birth rate goes down. Not really too surprising when you think about it. Christians, Muslims, and the others. As you climb the levels from left to right, the babies per woman decreases. Okay, this is surprising, and actually I've heard this somewhere in one of the shows I watched. Here is the income level versus the lifespan. And the more money you earn, the longer your lifespan. There's the US, and there's Japan with a lot longer lifespan, and Germany, and Spain, and a bunch of countries up there, and Singapore. Now, a lot of those are spending less than, or have less money than we do. The countries that beat the lifespan, longer lifespan vertically, more money on health spent on health, to the US at 17%. And look at all the ones that are only talking about 7 to 11%. But they're better than we are in terms of their lifespan. We are doing something wrong, apparently. Democrats ought to get a hold of that slide. Be interested in seeing if they ever get it. Extreme poverty from 1800 to today. Going down in the world. World population from 8,000 BC to today. Okay, so we see the world population on our plots, this part of it. And you see that rapid rise, and boy, that sucker is going to continue, right? You can see it started to go up somewhere around 2000 BC. Black Death was a little bit of pause. Why do you think that thing's gone up? Have we suddenly discovered how to make babies? Agriculture? Agriculture?
Longevity, living long.
Why?
Health.
Health. Probably a lot of that is medicine. Now remember, I told you that I talked to 4 guys who fought in the Civil War. That time they were cutting off legs with saws, with a mallet for anesthesia. I had a friend 20 years ago who fell off a ladder, and his foot was attached by a piece of skin, and he's walking around fine now. That's a lot of change in that period of time. Perceived world population in the future. That's that straight line sticking out. This looks worse than the other diagram because we shortened the axis. Now, if we pull it from 1900, boy, it really steepens up. It's a lot in how you present that data. And here's the world population UN forecasts. Children are going to level off, and adults are going to continue on. And I'd like continuing on. I think most of us would. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that presentation. A lot of information to digest there. But thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Thank you, Charles. Sergeant at Arms Mike, you have some announcements for us?
All right. Well, first, we have a number of guests today. I'd like to introduce the lovely Miss Martha Odom, wife of Charles Odom. Miss Laurel Johnson and Heather Wicker, guests at the club with us today. Glad to have you. And Mr. Hill McLean, guest at Chat's Bobby.
Ben?
Yes, President Bill, today we raised $52 for the Polio Plus campaign, $26 in the winter, $26 to the Polio Plus campaign. And I'm going to ask our visitor here to pick a winning ticket.
$38.95.
$38.95 is the winner.
Andy.
All right, Andy gets the winners of the four-way today. All right, Andy, way to go, buddy. Okay, thank you. Did you guys hear what he just said? He's going to give his winnings to Shelter Box. Well, let's give him a big round of applause. And of course, Andy, you get the...
You need the same thing. Even after you donate.
Okay, the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is this the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
will it build goodwill and better
friendships?
friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, again, thank you to our guests for joining us. Ms. Martha, thanks for being with us. Laurel, Heather, come back and join us every time. We really enjoyed having y'all. Also, Noah, if you ever have the opportunity, come back and see us. We had a few Rotarians today that weren't with us. I think David and Neil are out at a district golf tournament, so we hope they're knocking it straight and staying cool out there and having a good time. And I would just encourage y'all to go out and be smarter than the monkey this week.
Thank you,